people are trying to get out a little bit early. But we do have a lot of material to cover, and we're going to do some hands-on stuff with Excel. Some of it may be a little overlap from statistics, but we're kind of seeing how it fits into this subject of business intelligence systems. And what we're talking about with business intelligence systems, we're trying to take data, make information, and that becomes business intelligence, and we can make better decisions based on those kinds of things. And some of the stuff we went over, we talked about, where does this data come from was one of the first things we said. We said, hey, a lot of times it comes from operational data, just transactions that happen. People buy stuff, people register for classes. That's operational data. Sometimes it comes from social data, like relationships. Sometimes we buy it, and sometimes it comes from employee knowledge. Okay, so that is, start of that. It goes into business intelligence systems, and then we make some decisions. Okay. Now, a couple things that I want to go into before we get started is I want to talk about what a data warehouse is. Okay, what is a data warehouse? Well, what's a warehouse? Let's start with that. What's a warehouse? What is a warehouse? Yeah, we store. It's a storage facility. We keep a lot of stuff there, right? A lot of times it's our products or whatever it might be. It is just a special unit for the storage of large quantities of products. A data warehouse is the same thing, but it's storing data. If we think about it, all this operational data we have, or all this data we buy, it's all in these distinct places. We want to put it all under one roof so that we can use that to make decisions. And that's what a data warehouse it is. It extracts data from operational, internal, and external databases. It cleans the data. We're going to talk about dirty data. We talked about a little bit on Friday, but we're going to talk about some of the other things that we can see with dirty data. So it cleans it. It puts it in a format where we can make good decisions based off of it. It organizes and relates it. For example, it tries to find out that, this is John Miko, this is John Miko, this is the same John Miko, or this is John Miko, and this is his wife, and this is his children. So it tries to organize it together, and then it catalogs the data using metadata. Metadata, you remember, is data about data. So it describes the data, okay? It describes the data. Now, some problems we can have with this data, and I think we started to talk about this a little bit. Sometimes data has missing values, right? Sometimes it's blank. We didn't get the phone number. They didn't answer the gender question. That can cause problems when we're doing analysis, because if we're sorting things by gender or age and we don't have that value, well, where do we put that? Okay, so missing values is an issue. So when we extract and go into our data warehouse, we try to make sure we have all the important values filled out. Inconsistent data, I talked about that. If we have two addresses for you, what's the right address, right? Or we have, two last names for you because you got married, which one's the right last name? Okay, so that's inconsistent data. Data not integrated, when we say data not integrated, we mean it's not all put under the right record. For example, we have two records for John Miko, right? And it's not integrated into one record for him. We talked about this a little bit. Wrong granularity. Wrong granularity means how the data comes in. Too fine means it's too detailed to make a decision at the level you're at. For example, if I am trying to make a decision about, about a product line for Walmart for the Northeast region. And the data I have has every transaction that happened at every Walmart in the Northeast region. You think that's very useful? If I have, someone came in and bought this and bought this and bought this, millions and millions of records, is that useful to me for that decision? It's not. It's too much detail. It's too fine. It hasn't been grouped, okay? We call that it's too fine. Not fine enough or too coarse means it's too highly grouped. If I'm looking at trying to make a decision about, should I offer this product at the Edinburgh Walmart, but I have all my data is regional or maybe national, it's too coarse, okay? What do you think is easier to deal with, too fine or too coarse? Which easier to fix?
Too fine.
It's easier to fix too fine. Why?
Because it means you have the data.
I have the data, and I can group it and make it more coarse, right? I can take those detailed records and put it together and apply it to my situation. Too much data, I don't know if we ever have too much data, to tell you the truth. So we know what a data warehouse is. It's a specialized kind of storage device that we use to put all our BI data in, our business intelligence data in. Now, there's a data warehouse and there's also something called a data mart. A data warehouse, and the big difference of this is a data warehouse serves the enterprise. Okay, so the entire organization is served by the enterprise. Okay, the data warehouse serves the entire organization, A data mart, okay, you think about a mart, smaller, right, a little smaller, is smaller than a data warehouse, and it's meant to serve just one functional unit or department. Okay? So a lot of times organizations, before they have a data warehouse, you know, maybe marketing says, we're going to have a data mart, right? We're going to, any data related to marketing, we want to put in our repository, and it's a little mini data warehouse, right? And then maybe purchasing gets one. And now we have 2 data marts. Well, quickly we say, well, you know, all these data marts should really be put into one place and to go to a data warehouse. But if you hear the term data mart versus data warehouse, it's really talking about the scope. Okay, data warehouses serves the whole enterprise. Data mart serves like a function. So we've been talking a lot about the data. Okay, but this is what I really want to get to is we talk about reporting applications. So one thing we can do when we have this data, when it's a place that it's cleaned, it's not dirty, it's not inconsistent, now I can start making decisions on it. And the first thing we're going to talk about is reporting applications. Reporting applications is taking data, applying these reporting functions, which we'll talk about those in a second, and coming out with information that we can make decisions on. So we have this BI data, you know, business intelligence data, which may be in a warehouse, may be in a mart, and we apply reporting application to it, and from that we get out information that we can make decisions on. We're going to go through a couple examples. Now, some of the operations, which you've seen these operations, and we're going to go through these operations today, there are 5 basic reporting operations at the highest level. The first one is sorting, okay? Sorting is doing what? If I ask you to sort something, all you do is put it in some order. How can that be beneficial? Give me an example of how that might be beneficial when I have data and I want to sort. You guys know how to sort?
Easier to access.
It's easier to access. Maybe I want to see, hey, who has the most sales of my salespeople, right? Or who has the least sales? So I'm going to sort it by sales amount, yes? Okay? How about filtering? What is filtering? What is filtering? What is filtering? Yes, Katie?
Like getting out stuff that you don't need.
Okay, so a lot of times when the data is too fine, right? We talked about too fine. I have too much, it's overwhelming. Maybe I only want to see sales in the Evansburg Walmart. So I'm going to sort out all of the other Walmarts, right? That is filtering, you know, looking through it through a filter, and we'll do some of that. What do you think grouping is? What do you think grouping is? What's grouping? We're going to do some grouping in a second. What's grouping? How does grouping help us? What's that? It helps me categorize, right? Maybe I have all transactions for all customers in a database, right? And maybe John Miko had done 9 transactions this month. Well, I want to group all those transactions together so I just see that, hey, John Miko did 9 transactions totaling this amount. I don't want each of those individual records. I want to group it into one record. Does that make sense? Okay? Or I want to group something into gender or you know, whatever it might be. So grouping, and the other 2 I think are pretty consistent. Calculating, obviously like applying an average, adding something up, multiplying, those are all calculations. And formatting, you know, formatting can actually add value by making things easier to read, making things easier to understand, right? So those are the 5 operations. Now, Here is one, and the world of business is full of these, right? There's full of these. But this is one that you may not have seen. It's something called RFM analysis, okay? RFM analysis. So one of the things we talked about was we take operational data, put it in our data warehouse or our data mart, apply some tools to it, and then we have some information. Well, think about it. I have, one thing I track as an organization is every damn cell I have, right? And what are the things I track about my cells? What are the things that are important I track about my transactions? Okay, how much it was for, right? What else? What else might get stored with a transaction about a cell?
The article that was sold.
Okay, the item, very good. The product number, you know, we have maybe a table of product number, very good. What else?
The date.
When it was, the date, for sure, very good. What is also important, and you see a lot of companies try to track this.
The customer that bought it.
Yes, and how do they try to track this now? Like, how does Sheets try to know that it's John Miko who bought that hose? Right? That's what a loyalty card is all about. You guys know what I'm talking about, a loyalty card? You know, or sometimes they ask you specifically for your name, or they, if not, they try to get it off your credit card, right? If you use your credit card. A cash transaction, we don't like those because those are typically anonymous, unless you're, you know, doing some illegal business, then you like anonymous transactions. But on our side of it, we want to know who the customer is. Why? Because we want a complete picture of what John Miko does at our store, or what you do at our store, what you buy when, okay? So if we have all those things, you guys hit them all, right? The date, the amount, how many products it was, who it was, all those things. You know, maybe what type, what category it was at. There's all kind of things we can store. Data is cheap. We take that data, we store it, and then we can do an analysis called something called an RFM analysis. And what an RFM analysis does is it takes every customer in your database, and it ranks them according to three things, hence the RFM. The first one is recency, how recent they bought something from us. So a 1 meant very recently, a 5 means, so 1 through 5, a 5 means, you know, maybe bottom 10%, haven't bought from us for a long time, okay? F means frequency. Frequency means how often do they buy from us. If they only bought one time, they're going to be a 5. But if they buy from us every day or a couple times a day, maybe they're a 1. Okay? And in between, there's shades of gray there, 2s, 3s, and 4s, yes? And the last one is how much. And when we talk about how much, maybe not necessarily how many products, but how much money do they spend with us, right? So maybe if they spent millions with us, maybe they're a 1. If they spent $10 with us, maybe they're a 5, okay? So we take every customer we have and we rank them on those three things. Recency, frequency, and how much they've spent. So if we have these 5 customers, what do we say about Big 7 Sports? What about Big 7 Sports? Let's look, they're a 113 in the RFM score. They're a 113. What does that mean? First of all, what does it mean, and what does it mean to you as a business person? What would you might try to do with Big 7 Sports? They're a 113. What does that mean? Brandon?
Well, they shop very frequently and they very recently. They spend like an average amount of money.
Okay. So Big 7 Sports bought from us recently. They buy from us often, and they're about on the average in the amount of money they spend. So as a sales opportunity, what might we try to do with Big 7 Sports? What might we try to do? We're happy that they're buying from us often. We're happy that they're still buying from us. What might we try to do? What might we try have our salesperson do with this customer?
Maybe like influence them a little bit to like if you have like an upgrade card or something. Yeah, since they buy so much from you.
I like you said that upgrade, okay? Maybe we upsell them, right? Maybe we say, you know, they're only in the middle. Maybe we try to sell them, you know, more high-end products, right? Maybe we try to move them up the scale, right? Maybe we try to get them to a 111. They're obviously happy with our stuff. Maybe we can push them up. There may not be an opportunity there, but if I have a salesperson, I might say, hey, take a look at Big 7 Sports. What are they buying? Can I look at something, you know, more high-end for them? Okay? How about St. Louis Soccer Club? What do you think? As the person who owns this company, in charge of a team of salespeople, what's going on with Big 7 Soccer Club? What's going on with the St. Louis Soccer Club? What's going on with St. Louis Soccer Club? Plummet?
They were the perfect client before, but they stopped going to the shop.
I love that. They were a great client, right? They spent a lot of money, they bought from us frequently, but somehow they're now a 5. They haven't bought from us in a while. So what might that make you do as a business owner?
Try to bring them up, give him some
What do you,
discounts.
very good. What do you think happened to Big St. Louis Soccer Club?
They weren't happy with some products.
All right. They may have not told us. They may have not made a call and said, hey, you guys didn't serve me well. They may have just left. They went to another vendor. So they were a great client. I'm going to go out and visit them, right? I'm going to spend some time and go out and visit them and see, why are you unhappy with us, right? Can we win you back? Can we give you a discount, right? What was the problem, right? And even if they don't come back from us, understanding what the problem was with them might help avoid it in the future, right? So that's a good customer. I mean, it's a good customer to look into, okay? How about Miami Municipal? What do you think about Miami Municipal? 545. Yeah, they're probably not worth our time, right? Think about, time is important, right? We only have so many salespeople. They only have so much time. They haven't bought from us recently. When they did, they didn't spend a lot of money. So you know what? It's probably not worth even going out and trying to re-win that business, right? If they were a 511, yeah, let's send it out. Let's send some people out. But a 545, we lost them. Not a big loss. We're fine. Let our competitor take them. Okay? And finally, the last one, what about Central Colorado State? What about Central Colorado State? Where are they at? They're about in the middle of everything, right? So they're fine. Probably no intervention needed. It depends how much time we have, but maybe a call to try to upsell them, try to get them to buy more. They're like our average customer, yes? So you see how we can, think about it. We have tens of thousands of customers. We don't treat them all the same. There are good customers and bad customers. There are customers that are highly profitable and customers that are not highly profitable. My brother, he manages the Lowe's and State College, right? And he said that there's this guy who just bought a $40,000 deck through Lowe's, right? He said, but they've spent so much time with him. Like they have to go out and make sure everything's level and, like all the balusters are level. And he said it's his time and someone else's time. So they maybe made $10,000 on it, but if it costs them $10,000 of support because he's never happy with anything and he's always on social media saying bad things about the company, that may not be a good customer for you, right? You're fine with him going to the Home Depot, right? Because they're not a good customer. So let's take a look at this and let's take a look at how we might do an RFM analysis. So I'm going to go into Excel, and if you guys have your Excel, I would like you to do that as well. And we're going to go to Blackboard. And under Chapter 9, I want you to bring up retail preview sample.xlsx. And before we do the RFM analysis, we're going to go through the 5 functions, okay? So bring this up. You guys have any examples of RFM analysis? Anyone gamble?
Like casino.
Yeah. What do you think a casino does with this?
So retail.
What do you think casinos do with this?
Track how much money you're spending, how often you're going, all that, like seeing how
Yeah, and what if you haven't been there in a while, but when you're there, you spend big? What do they do? If you're a 511 at a casino, what do they do?
Starting money and say, have at
Yeah, they comp you, right? They say, hey, here's a suite for you. Why don't you come to Atlantic City or come to Vegas or whatever it is. We'll comp you. Do you ever hear that comp term? We'll give you $500 to start, and we'll also give you a room because we know, hey, where'd you go, right? We want you back. So it happens all the time in the business world. All the time. When I was with the bank, when I was with M&T Bank, we did this type of analysis. And you probably think, I mean, some of our good customers were good customers. They were like ones you think of as good customers. You'd think like, you know, like someone that gets a lot of loans, like a growing business was a good customer. But as far as people, what kind of like personal, we call that retail business. I'm not a good customer for a bank. Why am I not a good customer for a bank? Why do you think I'm not a good customer for a bank? I don't overdraft. Overdraft fees are like $40 a pop, right? I pay off my loans early. You know, I have a low credit score, so I get low interest rates. I'm very smart with my money. I try to limit the fees that a bank gets from me, right? Okay? Someone that overdrafts a lot, has high interest rate, but makes the payment, they're a great customer for a bank. You think about it. That's how they make money, right? That's how they make money. Fee-based. They use their ATM all over. I only use ATMs with no surcharges, those kind of things, right? I'm not a good customer for a bank, but a person who maybe isn't as good with their finances is a great customer. So you guys have this data? Yes. Okay. So what I'd like you to do, first what we're going to do is make a copy of this transaction. Here's the demographics. So, think about an organization. They would have all their customers, and you might have a loyalty card, so they'd have a card ID. When you got the card, your gender, they'd also have your name and anything you fill out in those card forms. Like when you do a Sheets card, those things you fill out, that gets stored somewhere, right? In a table in a database. Someone mentioned what product you bought. There would be a product table, right? This is the product, this is the category, this is the price of it, all those kind of things. We may also do campaign results. What do we mean by campaign results? We track campaign results. What do you think that means? How do they track campaign results? Give me an example of a campaign result. By card. Anyone have the Sheets loyalty card? We'll use that as an example again. What do they send out every month?
Emails.
An email, what's it say?
Like saying what promotions they have.
Yeah, come in and swipe and we'll give you a free Snickers bar, right? And they want to know who took advantage of that and who didn't, right? So we want to see how many people are engaging with it. You guys know what I'm talking about? So they might store it in a table like this. This customer took advantage of the campaign, this one didn't. So we see if they're still engaged with us, yes? Yes. And then every day, here is the richness of the data we get. We get the transaction, it was by this customer, this is how they paid, was it in-store or online, what day was it, we might even have what time, but we didn't store that, what product it was, how many items they bought, what was the total amount of those items, okay? So all those kind of things tie together. Think of those all as tables in a database that tie together through primary keys and foreign keys, which we know how that all operates now, yes? Yes. So what I want you to do right now, so we don't bastardize this transaction table, let's create a copy of it. So I'm going to right-click on this transaction table, right-click on it, and I'm going to go to Move or Copy. And then check Create a Copy, and then click OK. And now you see I have transactions and transaction sub 2. Yes? Take that transaction sub 2, right-click on it again, and go up to Rename. If I'm going too fast, yell. Go to Rename, and then just say, just say Example. Terrible name. Because I want to show some examples. You guys there? Okay, do you remember the 5 functions? They were sorting, filtering, grouping, I'm missing one. Calculating and formatting. Okay, those are the 5 functions. Let's see how we can do each of those in Excel before we do our RFM analysis. So the first thing I'm going to do is, let's say I want to sort this by transaction amount, and I want to see the big transactions, right? So I'm going to highlight all the data. So let's highlight all the data. So A through H. I'm going to go to data. Under data, I'm going to go to sort. And make sure it checked, it says my data has headers. Is yours checked with my data has headers? Okay. And let's say sort by items amount. God bless you. And I'm going to sort from largest to smallest. And I'm going to click OK. So now we see that we had some $500 transactions. Those were the best. And the lowest value looks like we had some $24 transactions. So what, I don't know what we're selling here, but those are our grouping. Let's say we want to be, do a multi-level sort. So highlight all that data again, A through H, and go to sort. And this time, I want you to sort by customer ID. So we'll sort by customer ID, largest, smallest to largest. And then we'll add a level. And then we're going to sort by timestamp, which is our date. And we'll do newest to oldest. And I'm going to click OK. And now it shows all the transactions for every customer. This is, 1,309.75. And they had 3 transactions, and they were all on July 10th. Let's look at one. Okay, let's look at this guy. This is 105,398. He had, or she had, what, 1, 2, 3, 6 transactions. And, no, I'm sorry, 5 transactions. And the dates go through July 10th. The oldest one was October 2001. Okay, so we added 2 levels. Let's do filtering. So we have too much going on here. Maybe I'm only concerned with the ABC widget. Okay, maybe I'm only concerned with the ABC widget. Click on column F. Click on the F. It'll highlight the whole column. Under data, click on filter. We just made this filterable, terrible word, and click on that drop down now. You see that we have that drop down with product. And uncheck the select all, and then just check ABC widget. And click OK. And now it was too fine for my purposes. And now I can just see the ABC widgets, right? Right. Okay, I filtered out all the other widgets that I sell. Let's undo this. So I'm gonna undo. So I'm gonna go undo, undo. So now it's unfilterable. So that little arrow pointing that way is when I undo. I just undid it. So we did sorting and filtering there. Okay, sorting and filtering. We need to do grouping, calculating, and formatting. Let's do grouping. How might I group this data? A couple ways I could do this. How could I group this data? I'll show you a couple ways to do this. Give me something I'd want to group this data by. And we'll do it that way. Money spent. So how would we do that? That's going to be, we can do that, but it's going to be more difficult. Give me a non-numeric thing I want to group this by. What's that? Sure, let's do payment method, okay? So a couple things I can do. Let's highlight all the data. So I want to show payment method, maybe how much, how many items, how many transactions for that payment method, and how much. Give me a way I can do that. Come on, some of you in my stats class or had me for that advanced Excel class should know how to do this. Thank you, Matt. So highlight all that data, go to insert. You guys with me? Go to pivot table. Click OK. It's going to build me a new sheet. You guys all have this? Okay. Katie wanted to do it by payment method. So take payment method. You see payment method here? Left click and drag it down here to the rows area and drop it. Boom. You guys have that? I think I wanted to know how many items they bought. So that is in items number. So let's drag that down into values and drop it. And it says count, but I want to change that to sum. Okay, so I'm going to click on that drop down. Go to value field settings and change that to sum. So we had 166 cash transactions, 100 credit card transactions, and 46 debit card transactions. For a grand total of, not transactions, these are items spent. Items, because some of the transactions had 20 items. You remember that? So this is total. The total number of items bought. We also want amount. So let's drag amount down here below sum of items. And it says count. I want to change that as well to sum. And while I'm in there, click on that number format button and make it currency. So change it to sum, value field settings, change it to sum. Take that number format and make it currency. Okay, we actually did two functions there with this pivot table. We grouped, right? As Katie requested, we grouped by category, like or payment method. What else did we do? By adding and summing, what did we do? We did calculating, right? So that was a function we did. How about formatting? Let's do format here. Under design, let's say we want something that looks a little bit different. I don't know, let's say I want this style or that style. Let's do this one, okay? Now I've done formatting. I've changed formatting to maybe help with understanding. So we took that data, we sorted it, we filtered it. Using a pivot table, we grouped it, we calculated, and we formatted. Right? Right. Okay. You guys aren't in awe of this? You've seen it before? Let's do some other things. Let's other ways to do those kind of functions. So let's go back to our original data. Any questions on this? Let's go back to example. And one thing that's nice is let's take this whole ball of wax, all this data, and let's highlight it all. And instead of inserting a table, our pivot table, let's do insert table. and it says, does your table have headers? And I want to check that box because my table does have headers. I click OK. And the table instantly provides me some nice formatting. And it also provides me filterable fields for every column I have. So if I only want to see, I don't know, Miko widgets, I can see those. Maybe I only see Miko widgets that were bought with cash. I can double filter. These are the Miko widgets bought by cash. Okay. So filtering, this is also doing formatting as well. Questions on this? Now think about this. This was only, I don't know, how many records? This was only, I don't know, this was only 100 and, this was only 177 records, transactions. Think about the amount of transactions that are done in a day. And for a lot of companies, it's millions of transactions per day. Millions, okay? What we just went through, though, we did it on 177 transactions. Those steps we did, would it have taken us more time if it was 100,000 transactions in there? Those steps would have taken us the exact same amount of time, right? The computer, though, deals with all million just like it dealt with all 177, right? So we can really kind of slice and dice the data and get better information from it. All right, let's do an RFM analysis. You guys need to help me with this. I want to take these customers and I want to do an RFM analysis on them. And this isn't easy to do, but we can do it. So let's go back to our original transactions, if you will. Okay, the original transactions. And let's make another copy of it. So I'm going to go to that and I'm going to say move or copy. And I'm going to create a copy. And I'm just going to create a copy. Let's do frequency first. Let's do frequency first. So let's call this new tab. Right click on it, go to rename, and call it frequency. Just call it frequency data. Because that's the data I'm going to use for frequency. All right, think about what I want to do here. I want to rank all of these customers by the frequency of their purchases. How do I do that? Using the tools that we learned, sorting, formatting, grouping. Help me. Give me an idea. Maya?
You use it by customer ID.
Okay, very good. One thing we need to do is group by customer ID, right, Maya? Because I want to know this customer has this many transactions. You're right. So we need to use grouping. So what do we do when we group? What do we use to group? And that's what we'll use here. What do we use to group? What was the tool we used to group? We used the pivot table. So let's group by customer ID. So I'm going to take all of this data. I'm going to say insert pivot table. I'm going to click OK. Maya's right. We want to group by customer ID, so throw customer ID down here. There are customers. It looks like we only have about 30 customers. And I want the frequency of purchases. So not how much they purchased, the amount, and not what they purchased, but how many transactions they've had. I want to know how many times they've appeared in that transaction table, how many separate transactions they've had.
Help me with that.
Transaction ID.
Go ahead. I'm going to throw down transaction ID into values. And it says sum of transaction ID. So it's taking that transaction ID and adding it up, and it means bullshit. It's like just a random number. It doesn't help me. So I want to change that sum to what? So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go to value, field settings, and I'm going to say count. Okay. We have a little bit of an issue here. What's the issue? So we have the number of transactions by customer, which is what we want. What do I want to do with that, though? Go ahead. I need to decide who gets the ones and who gets the fives, right? Or maybe we'll do ones, twos, and threes. So what do you think I need to do to this table so that I can decide who gets the ones, who gets the twos, the threes, the fours, and the fives? What do I need to do to this table?
Order them.
What's that?
Order them.
Order them. Very good. Which we call what? Sort. So let's right click, go into any of these, right click on it under count of transaction, go down to sort, and sort largest to smallest. Now usually we have a lot more customers, right? And usually we use percentiles, okay? Like if you look at the book, this is what they recommend for percentiles. The top 20% get a 1, the middle 20% get a 3, so they you know, the next 20% get a 2. We don't have a lot of customers, so we could go here and let's say, I don't know, let's say these are our ones. We'll say these are our ones. Let's give all these guys our 2s. You know, we're only giving a few people a 1. Well, it's down to 5. We'll give them 2s. And then all these guys are our 3s. Because they're, you know, 3s, 2s, and 1s. So it's not exactly even, but you can come up with a way to rank them, right? So now, this is our frequency component of our RFM, right? We have a customer, and we have their frequency number. Yes? You guys with me? Okay. So I'm just going to call this sheet 4, I'm going to call it frequency, because it has a frequency value for every customer. Let's go to transactions again. Let's do monetary. So now we want to rank them by how much money they've spent. How do I do that? Let's do monetary. I want to rank them by how much money they've spent. How do I do that? Give me one way I can do that. I want to do grouping. Grouping by what again? My group by what again? I want to do a pivot table, and I want to group by customer ID. So let's highlight A through H again. I'm on transactions, by the way. I guess I don't need to create a duplicate. Just take transactions, highlight A through H. Sometimes coffee is so good, huh? You know, it's a perfect temperature and you put in a proper amount of everything. That rarely happens. Usually it scalds me, or it's cold, or I put in too few pumps, or too less pumps, too few, or too many pumps. I'm going to do insert, pivot table again. Once again, I'm going to group by customer ID, so throw that in the rows. What am I going to put in values this time, though? Not the number of transactions. I don't care about the number of transactions. What do I care about when I'm talking about the M? I care about the money. So let's throw items amount down into the values area. It says count of items amount. I don't want count. What do I want?
Some.
Change that to sum. While I'm in there, I should have made it look like number, so change the number format to currency. What do I need to do again so I can rank these people? I right click, go to value field settings. I'm sorry, right click, go to sort, sort largest to smallest. I'm going to give everyone over, let's say, everyone over $400 gets a 1. Everyone over $100 gets a 2. Everyone under $100 gets a 3. And we could go through a bunch of different rankings with this, but you know, I'm calling 1s, 2s, and 3s. All right, you guys understand that, yes? All right, the last one's the hardest one, and we're running out of time. Well, it's the first one actually. But let's call this this is monetary, so let's call it money. So I want you guys to think about something. The last one I'm doing is recency. So I'm going to rank people by their most recent transaction, right? Their most recent transaction. So for example, if we look at this guy, 53859, she had transactions of 7 July 10th, but also 11/27 and 10/27. What do I want to do when I rank them? What do I want to get rid of for her or him? I want to get rid of duplicates. I want to get rid of duplicates that are old, right? I just want to have one transaction per customer, their most recent transaction, yes? All right, I know it's before break, and this probably takes 5 minutes, but we have one. So here's what we're going to do. Come Monday, right after break, bring your laptop. We'll finish this up. Okay, so save what you have. Save what you have somewhere. And we'll leave off here. We'll start this Monday. There's also going to be a little assignment that I have. I'll make it available now. You can start it if you like. But it's going to be on Blackboard. It's going to be due the last day of class, which is Friday. We're not meeting that day, by the way. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh doing a tour of Robert Morris's School of Business, so that we can, steal from them and take good things from them. So I'm going to be in Pittsburgh on that Friday. So, all right, that's it. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for participating. Great class before break.
Extra credit.